You're done. There you go. All right, you're all set. Sorry to hear about your email. That's terrible.
It was terrible. It wasn't, I mean, it was a pain for reasons like this.
Of
But,
course. Right.
you know, other than a few cuss words and me just having to change my email address and move things over and contact people and whatever, Absolutely. It is what it is. What are you going to
do? Right. Okay, so first off, welcome to the Noble Pen Podcast. I appreciate you coming on as a guest.
Of course. Thanks for inviting me. I appreciate
Absolutely, it. Absolutely. I'm actually really excited about the way that this thing's turning out. I mean, I got like over 200 people on the wait list right now to be on.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, wow. We already have over 100 followers in the past week. So
very cool.
It's doing pretty good, you know, and I feel like it'll really help everybody get their work out there. And that's essentially what I started this for, obviously.
Okay, great.
Okay, so tell me how you got started writing and what inspires you to write?
Let's see. How did I started writing? I've always loved to read. And I suppose, you know, just growing up as a little kid, wanting to read more and more and more, you know, I just naturally gravitated toward writing. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it just continued to grow from there. I went from writing fan fiction of Disney stories, believe it or not. Oh, wow. I remember writing like these Snoopy stories, and then getting older and writing stories in class in school, and writing when I was in college, and then writing creatively some more out of college. And then I decided, hey, you know, maybe I'd like to try to get published. Yeah. And so I wrote a novel, I wrote some short stories, and I kind of did it ass backwards from everybody else, where I got my novel published first, and then the stories, and then the articles.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, but what inspires me? I think what really inspires me are the oddities of life, the things that make life real, but, you know, just the strange. Also, the strong women, but strong women that gravitate towards evil.
Okay.
Like Gillian Flynn's dark characters. Those
dark characters, correct. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. That sounds good. Tell us a little bit about your most recent published work without giving out too much information on it.
This is my most recent published work right here.
The Darkened Doorstep. That's pretty cool.
Yes.
All right. Tell us a little about it. What's the story about?
Edited by yours truly, Catherine Jordan. I have a ghost story. I did put a story in here. It's a ghost story. Okay. It's about this house that is down the road from me, from where.
So it's nonfiction then?
Well, it's creative nonfiction, I would say, because I really don't know the history to the house. So I kind of just did a ghost story based on what I thought may have or could have happened in that house a long time ago in the 1980s. Okay. Mm-hmm.
That sounds cool.
Yeah.
Do you plan on writing in any other genres or anything?
I do. I've written a little bit of nonfiction. I do love a good ghost story. I do love dark fiction, but I'm really thinking about starting to pen some Christmas stories, because as much as horror, I love Christmas too. And I love the horror Christmas genre. I really do. I just saw Violent Night the other night at the movies. Great movie.
It's a horror Christmas movie?
It is, yes.
Okay. I haven't heard of it. That's why I asked.
It's pretty
good. I remember
good.
Black Christmas years ago. I've never seen it, but I heard about that, you know.
Yeah, and Krampus, that's another good one. There's a lot of them out there.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So you want to start writing in that genre. Do you have a basic idea of what this story is going to be about? Or?
I think so. Yeah, I think I do.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to start it, and, you know, it's like anything. You see where the characters lead you.
Okay.
That's the way I write anyways.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So, well, some people, you know, like to set up the setting. Some people like to work on one character and see where this character is going to go through a fantastical world. So,
yeah, I'm a pantser. So I will have my general idea, you know, and then I go from there. Like the general idea is, you know, it is what it is. And then, you know, I love characters, and of course the plot, you know, goes hand in hand with them. But yeah, I like to see, you know, how I can throw more conflict at them and see the choices that the characters make, and you know, where they'll lead me through my story. Sometimes I wind up in a spot where I never thought I would be as the writer.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have characters in the ghost story that you wrote, of course?
Oh, of course. Yeah. Yeah. I have a
Okay.
couple of characters in the ghost story. Yeah.
Tell me about one of your favorite characters in the ghost story, and why is that character your favorite?
Well, the favorite character, I guess, would have to be the main character.
Okay.
She's a real estate agent and she's hoping to sell the house. And, this is the 1980s where women don't really have a prominent role in business. And it was kind of cool just tapping back into the 1980s and trying to think back because I was a little kid in the 1980s. So I
Right.
remember, but I don't really remember I wasn't a woman then, but
Right.
I was just little. So, and again, it's this old house, and I'm just trying to see it from an adult's perspective, even though I was looking at it from a child's perspective back then.
Right.
And so she was kind of one of my favorite characters because I was trying to situate her where the men's club in the real estate office, she's kind of afraid of them taking over her sale. So even though she's getting a strange vibe in this house, she doesn't want to walk out because she doesn't want to be teased. She doesn't want to lose the sale, so she's going to stick with it.
Right.
And she's staying in the house. She's going to sell it.
Okay. That actually sounds very interesting. I might have to look that up.
Okay.
Okay. Tell me something that you learned since you started writing that you could help other writers or other authors. Like, is there any information you can give? Like, hey, listen, I started off writing like this. I think this is a little bit better. You know what I mean? Any of those quirks that you figured out?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll give you a couple of things. Number one, patience. Don't expect your first thing that you put out there to get published. If you do, great, but don't give up just because you keep submitting and people aren't jumping on the bandwagon to publish you. I think it's getting a little hard. It's easier now to get published, but it's harder to get published within respectable places or with the top 5 agents. Going for the gusto, do it, go for it, but don't expect it to happen overnight. And I think some of the best advice that I can give writers is really watch Passive Voice. And
Passive voice. Is this like a TED Talk type deal, or?
No, Passive Voice makes the biggest difference when it comes to writing. Instead of I was going to the store, I went to the store. Action speaks volumes, right?
Okay.
Because you want to keep the reader alive. And today's readers are getting, they don't have the attention span, I don't think, that people used to.
That people used to have.
Yeah, you pick up some of those old books, like think about the book Rebecca. All right, to me, I think it's a great ghost story, but a lot of people, I think nowadays, would be hard pressed to pick it up because she takes a while. Daphne du Maurier, she takes a while to get there.
Sometimes that's part of the situation, though. That's that's the feeling of getting into it. Because you look forward to, as opposed to having something right away, you look forward to like, oh man, I wonder where this is going to go.
Absolutely.
That's the idea of being an author. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to create a setting first.
Exactly. But I'm not talking about setting. I'm talking about active voice versus passive voice.
Right.
So when you do something like that, if you do it in passive voice, it really slows it down and turns it into a snooze fest.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would say don't do that. And then pay attention to your senses. We all forget about what we smell when we're in somewhere, in a scary situation. It's not just, what am I tasting? Can I taste fear? Can I smell fear? I would say those are probably a couple of good things to get some new writers started.
Absolutely. I appreciate that.
Sure.
Okay, let's talk about marketing a bit. How do you go about doing that? Is there any special tactics that you use or any special companies you use for marketing for your books, or?
No, I don't put a whole lot of money out into marketing. I feel like word of mouth works really well with people. Rubbing elbows too with other writers. I genuinely like other people's work, and I'll comment on it and I share.
So you read a lot of indie authors then, or?
I do. Yeah, I read a lot of everything in general. I really like to read. I really like to write, and I like to edit too. So I think cool. that helps too. I would really suggest that too. I facilitate writing courses, and that's one of the things I tell my students is to see if you can get on a slush pile, or start reading slush piles. There's always places where you can volunteer. They're looking for people to read things.
Okay,
and that helps.
All right, that's fantastic. All right. Do you have friends or family members or even like a set of beta readers to read your things before you publish them? And if so, how do you know who to trust?
That's really the hard part, is finding out who to trust, because you don't want
Right.
anybody to blow smoke. You don't want anybody saying, like, I would never ask my mother or my father to read anything because, oh, yeah, honey, it's great. That's not what you want to hear.
Right.
So I
Yeah.
do have a group of writers that we're in a little group. We call ourselves the Hive. And we're all very modestly successful writers. And we're all very honest with each other. And so those are the women that I go to.
That's really cool.
Hmm.
I really appreciate that. You actually have like a tight knit group that you go to for everything. You even have a name for it. That's
We
actually,
do. Yeah. Yeah.
that's very unique. I really like that. Okay. Have you ever sat down and like got writer's block and just didn't know how to get through your thought process? And if you did, how do you deal with that?
Okay, no, I don't really get writer's block.
No?
But what can happen is I'll maybe think to myself, how do I get from this situation to that situation, in a not so. Sometimes I can be too quick. Writers can be too quick. Like
Yeah.
I'll rush a scene. You know what I mean?
Right. Of
And
course. Yeah.
so that is sometimes where I'll get stuck, where I want to slow it down, but I don't want to bore the reader. So when that happens, I will pick up another book. From back behind me here, I'll
Yeah.
pick up another book, somebody who, maybe one of my favorite authors, or maybe something in the genre that I happen to be writing, and
Okay.
I'll start reading. And within about 15, 20 minutes, I feel like that kind of greases up the little wheels inside here, and I'll get an idea. If that doesn't help, I'll go out for a walk. And it's amazing what, when you're tossing things around in your head and you're moving your body and you're going for a walk, ideas will come. So those are the things that I will do when I'm stuck on a scene and
Okay.
I want to slow things down. But writer's block, no. I've got a little baggie, it's around here somewhere. I've got this little, like a sandwich baggie. And
Okay.
whenever I get ideas, I'll write the idea on a piece of paper and I'll throw it in my baggie. And so I've just got this baggie stuffed full of ideas. And my
That's
phone
actually
too.
pretty cool.
On my notes, I have over 300 and some notes on my phone with ideas
Okay.
about.
All
Yeah.
right. That's great advice. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you ever get negative feedback? And if you do, how do you deal with it?
I mean, yeah, I'll get negative feedback, but it's negative, but it's, I feel like they're always trying to help me. I've never had anyone slam me maliciously.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've had feedback that's like, well, I wasn't quite into this character, or I wasn't quite believing that, you were getting me from point A to point B. And so what do? I file that away in my brain, and I use that information for next time. If it's a beta
Right.
reader giving me this information, well, that's perfect, because then I can make changes. But if it's
Then you
something
make
that's,
changes.
yeah, oh yeah, if I can. If it's something that's already been published and it's too late to make the changes, well, what are you going to do? You can't please everybody.
Right. Yeah. I try to tell people that too. Like when I don't know if you watched any of the previous videos, but yeah, a lot of people kind of have that same response. And I tell them, hey, you're not going to please everybody.
No,
It may not be the thing for them. It's just move on and be you.
right,
Right.
exactly.
Okay. If you could pick the brain of one either indie or mainstream author that you could sit across from for a half an hour, who would you pick and why that author?
Okay, I would pick Gillian Flynn. And I would pick her because I just feel like with the minimum amount of words, she really says everything that needs to be said. Like, she catches tone, she catches voice, she catches the setting, she catches the anxiety, she hits all
Okay.
the sensories.
And she's a mainstream author, yes?
Gillian Flynn, she wrote Gone Girl.
Oh,
She
okay.
wrote Dark Places. She wrote
I've heard of God and Girl. I
Show,
didn't hear.
Pardon?
I've heard of God and Girl. I have not heard of Dark Places. I mean, sure, it's a
Yeah.
mainstream book, but I've never heard of that one.
Yeah, she's very mainstream. Yeah, she's only written 3 books so far. She's written a couple short stories that I've read too and loved. And I keep
Okay.
following up on her. She says and maybe she has that 4th book finished, but I'm eagerly awaiting, Gillian Flynn, your next writing, if you're watching this.
That's very cool. There you go. Hey, you never know how big this thing's
Yeah.
going to get.
Yeah.
Anyhow, would you consider killing off a character, like a main character? And if so, why or why not?
Well, of course, you got to kill your darlings.
Okay.
Yeah.
And why is that?
Why? Because you just do. You just, it's like if anybody out there is a Game of Thrones fan, you know, you've got those main characters and you just don't know as you're watching it who is safe and who isn't.
Right. Okay.
And then you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he killed that person. That's the
Right.
reaction. So yeah, of course.
Yeah. Everybody, you know, believe it or not, authors, I mean, have different perspectives on that. Some people have said, not my main character because that's what the story is about, you know, but other people would say absolutely. And then we'll see how the rest of the people go on without that person, creating a different dynamic, obviously.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So do you see writing then, you know, whether be it your fiction or your nonfiction, do you see it as a spiritual or therapeutic thing for you? And if so, how? How does that change you as a person? How does it help you inside?
It's definitely therapeutic for me. It relaxes me. It puts me in a different zone. I can sit down at like 7 o'clock in the morning, and the next time I look at my clock, it's like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I didn't even realize that much time went by.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I lose myself.
Okay.
I'm very imaginative, and I get lost and I forget about everything else. Nothing bothers me while I'm writing.
Okay. Do you ever have to be in like a specific mood to write a specific kind of scene? Like, hey, I'm feeling a little angry right now. I'm going to go write about. Have you ever played off of those kind of emotions?
Yes, I've played off those emotions. I don't feel as though I have to be in that emotion in order
But
to.
do you feel it might make the situation more intense for you? Kind of like helps you muster up those feelings, or?
Sure, absolutely, yeah. Because when you're feeling it as its strongest, if you're really in your character's head while you're writing, you're going to have those emotions.
Right.
I would say yes to that. If I'm already in that space, well, I guess it depends. If all hell's breaking loose, I can't really just stop everything. Let me go sit down and write now while I'm in this space. So you can't really do that. You got to kind of tap into it and file it away and think to myself, okay, I can use this later. That's the best I can, I suppose. But I would say yes, it's all quite helpful.
Okay. Do you find it credible for a fiction author that's known heavily for their fiction writing to write and publish a nonfiction book? And do you think that people would see them as credible for that as they would their original piece?
Yeah, I think so. I look at Stephen King, and a lot of people can't believe that he wrote Shawshank Redemption.
Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah, it's really, I mean, it's not nonfiction, but it's just completely, far away from anything else he's what he's known for.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really think they can. I don't think an author has to change their name. I know that J.K. Rowling has done that. She's changed her name, but I understand why.
Oh, really? I did not know that, actually.
She did. She wrote under a pen name for a while because she was so well known for Harry Potter. Yeah. And she didn't want. I mean, I understand why she did it. She did it because she didn't want little kids picking up her books and thinking, okay, well, this is for me, because it wasn't. She was kind of switching more to an adult fiction.
Okay.
So I understand she did it that way. But I don't think authors need to do that. Like if you've got a name base, go ahead and continue to write, using your name. And if you want to change up your genre and write something different, yeah, go for it.
Go for it. Right. Absolutely. Okay. What are some essential characteristics to you for a hero and for a villain? Like what do these characters need to have to really bring them out the right way in your writing?
Okay. I think for a hero, you've got to really identify with the hero because you want to root for them, right? You want your readers to root for your hero.
Right.
So in order to root for them, the character has to be identifiable. For example, they should have a weakness. Let's think about Superman. Okay, he's got a weakness. He falls in love. He is an everyday man being a reporter, and his boss thinks very little of him because he doesn't know who he is. So identifiable in that sort of way. I think a villain is somebody we should love to hate. For example, Hannibal Lecter. Okay, you may not have liked Hannibal Lecter, but you had a little bit of a respect for him as an intelligent person. And here he was, he liked, um, what was her name? Not Charlene. Oh, Charlize. Oh, her name is escaping me. But he really liked her, and he was helping her to
Okay.
catch the main killer.
You said Charlize. Are you looking for Charlize Theron?
No. The main character, the police detective in with Hannibal Lecter in Silent.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember what her name was. It's escaping me, but it's something like that.
Okay.
Anyway, I can hear him saying her name. But yeah, I think a villain should be somebody we love to hate, and a hero should be somebody that we identify with and somebody that we root for.
Okay. All right. Tell me something about your main character in your most recent work. Is that your only published book so far, or you have others?
Oh no, I've got a little collection here, so I'll just show you. So this is my anthology, all my anthologies.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
That is very cool.
Yeah, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I don't have them all here. There's 2 that are already coming out next year. So I've got 11 publications as far as anthologies go. And I do edit for these guys right here. Victor Bloodstone, that's a pen name. So I edit their books. So this is the first one.
That's a really cool cover.
It's a great cover, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And
fantastic.
we did the second. I'm right now in the middle of editing their third, which is very awesome.
Okay.
But your question was, you wanted to hear about the main character in one of my most recent writings?
Yeah, and what's your favorite thing about them? Like, why is that your favorite character you've ever written?
Oh, okay. So the favorite character.
Of anything you've ever written, doesn't matter what book it's in, what is your favorite character? What makes them so unique to you? You think you did such a fantastic job?
Okay. So, all right. So I've got 3 novels that I've written. And it would have to be the main character there. And why do I like her so much? She's really kind of hardcore evil, and I really feel like people would love to hate her. She's not somebody you would ever want to be, or anybody you would want to sit next to and have a conversation with.
Right.
Somebody you'd be afraid to sit next to. Somebody you'd be not likely to even want to rub shoulders with or be in the same room with. You know, she's one of these people that just gives you the shivers. So she was really hard to write because, and she still kind of is, because she's just such a nasty person that, like, I enjoy writing about her as an author, but I don't really enjoy writing about her because it's hard to do because she's a villain. And I don't really think of myself as a nasty person. So it's hard to get into that nasty headspace.
Right. Okay. So it's kind of hard to like transform yourself into thinking, okay, how would this type of person think?
Right.
Yeah. Do you ever do research for that kind of thing? Like, how do I get myself into this mindset? And how do you know what research to trust?
Well, I go to things that have already been published and did well. For example, C.S. Lewis, when he wrote the Screw Tape Letters.
Okay.
So that book is about 2 demons writing back and forth to each other. And C.S. Lewis.
That's what the book is about?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's called the Screw Tape Letters. They're communicating back and forth because there's a human that, you know, they're trying to corrupt him, totally, utterly corrupt him. And so the human never figures as a character. I mean, he's in the book, but he's only in the book as the demons, you know, write to each other and discuss him. So C.S. Lewis said that he had such a hard time writing that book because it was getting into the headspace of 2 demons. You know, he felt like it really, you know, depressed him, and it really kind of got him down, and it really bothered him. Okay. And the same thing happened with the book, The Exorcist. The writer said the same thing kind of happened with him with that. But so I guess I kind of, you know, those are the kind of books, somebody who's already done it, who's already created a really nasty character. I would pick up something like that, and, you know, I would read that for a little while.
Okay.
Try to emulate that voice, that headspace.
Right. Okay. That's great advice. Or maybe even like watch a movie in that same genre that could help you out.
That could help. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Have you ever done a book signing?
I have.
Okay. And how did you go about setting that up? Just to like help,
So
like I said, to help the new authors out there. Sometimes it's hard to get signed for a book signing, especially if you're contacting like local bookstores. At least I know that for sure.
I think really the hardest part is being a salesperson. Okay, because we're all writers. Nobody goes into writing thinking they have to be a salesperson, but you kind of do. And that was one
Well,
of
why
my
do you say that, if you don't mind me asking?
I was just going to tell you because my background was sales. I used to be in sales for a while. And why do I tell you that? Because I got to walk in with one of my books and, hey, I'm the author of this book and I'd like to get space on one of your shelves. And, you got to kind of go in there realizing that you're talking to either a buyer or an owner and, give them the respect that they deserve, but also, go in there realizing you're not Stephen King. You're not somebody who's going to, have lines of people going out the door, but you're somebody that can help create a moment at their bookstore that for whatever reason could get some footpath into the store, whether I know people who'd like to come in just to say hi to me, or if I could go in with another author that has a following and the two of us can go in together.
That's a pretty cool idea.
Yeah, that's really a good way to do it. Go in with more than one person for signing. And, you're always hoping for a little space on the shelf. So they're going to want to know that, hey, if your books don't sell, am I stuck with them? So, you got to have a plan for, you give them 10 books to sell. They only sell one. They got to make room for other people. And after a year, if those books don't sell, you got to be willing to go back and get them off their hands.
Pick them up. Yeah. Right.
So, but what do I do when I go in for books? Well, I have a little box downstairs, and in my box, it's a tablecloth. So, it's a pretty big one. So I'll throw that over my table.
Yeah.
And then I have a black feather pen with an antique pen holder that it goes into for my signings. And
that's very cool.
Business cards. I'll have a little basket full of dark chocolate because I write dark fiction. So I go in with dark chocolate.
Okay.
And I treat it professionally. So, I don't go in with ripped jeans looking like a slob, don't do that. And also I know a lot of writers like to sit behind the desk. I always stand because I want to look approachable. So, and I'm not on my phone. It's again, going with another person is always nice. It helps, really help. But yeah, I just have a box of stuff and I'm always ready to go with my
I like this. I like the standing idea. That's a different dynamic, actually. If you really think about it, it might sound like something that's so complex or simplex, rather.
Yeah.
But it's really not if you think about the logistics of it, right?
No, it's not. Yeah, it's really a good thing to do. Standing makes a difference.
Absolutely. Did you see somebody sitting? You're like, but somebody standing there, like they're almost welcoming you, like, hey,
it makes
come
a difference.
Talk to me about my book.
Yep.
Absolutely.
When somebody's sitting down, they really do look. They look a little bored. They look like they're tired. They almost send off those "I don't want to be bothered" vibes.
Yes.
Now, being an author, I want to be bothered. I want you to come up to me. I want you to talk to me. But that's why I stand too. I have a little bit of that nervous energy also. So I'm gonna stand. I'm gonna fidget. And like I said, I was in sales, so
Right.
you gotta be willing to talk to people as they walk by and be like, hey, what do you like to read? You kind of can't be afraid to talk to people.
Okay. Are you an author full time now then? Because you said you were in sales, or?
I was in sales. I would like to be full time. I do have a family. I'm an avid traveler too. I am a
Does your traveling ever inspire your writing?
Yes. There's this wonderful genre writing that I'm breaking into. It's called tiki horror. I don't know if you've heard of it.
I have not.
It's vacation horror.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. That's pretty cool. So like creepy things happening when people go on vacation type deal?
Yep. You're going on, everything starts off all happy, joy. And
it reminds me of I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but I went away on vacation. That's when the guy showed up.
Yep.
So it's kind of on the lines of that, I'm assuming?
Yeah, it is. Yep.
Very exciting. That sounds really cool. Okay.
Yeah, in fact, in this book right here, I've got a short story. It's called A Kiss Is Not a Kiss, and it's a piece of tiki horror. It's travel horror.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So that's like an anthology with a bunch of different stories in it, I'm assuming?
Yes, this one I did not edit, but this it's called An Anthology of Horror, Symphony of the Damned. This one did just come out this year.
Okay.
It's got a lot of great stories in it. It's got it has some really good reviews in it too.
That's awesome. That's very cool. Where you've been showing us a lot of your work here, but you didn't tell anybody where you can find out. Are these all available on Amazon, Barnes and
all
Noble?
available on Amazon. Yes, if you go to my name, Catherine Jordan, I have an author page on Amazon, and
all that will populate, I'm assuming.
Yeah, if you go to my author page, it's all there.
Perfect, perfect.
And
I'll also plan on putting the names of all your work in the description of the video for you too.
Oh, great, thank you. Yeah, and I have a website, catherinejordan.com is my website.
I'll put that right in there.
Okay, great, thank you.
Absolutely, not a problem. Okay, if you're working on anything, then give us a little sneak peek about like something new that you're working on, just to give a little bit of information out there to get people excited about it.
Sure. Well, I am working on an anthology collection of tiki horror. So I'm going to take some of my, travel stories, things that have happened or things that I've heard have happened to other people. And of course, what you do is you just,
So some of these are going to be nonfiction, you're saying?
No, they're not going to be nonfiction, but they're going to be maybe based on inspired, I should say.
Inspired by true events like you would see on the beginning of a movie?
Exactly, yes. Inspired by true events. Something that may have happened to me or may have happened to somebody else while they were on vacation. And I think to myself, oh, man, that'd make a great horror story.
That sounds really cool, actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. What do you think makes one of these horror stories spectacular? What elements do you think you need to add to those? Like, how are you going to embellish on what happens to these people?
Well, I think if I really get them, it's that stasis, that beginning. Like you want to be where my character is right now. They're in, say, Maui. And, really setting the stage for the lush life but don't linger too long in the stasis because conflict has to happen quickly. And
why is that? Because you don't want to drag it on too much?
Well, right. Especially if it's a short story.
Okay.
Yeah. And then once the conflict happens, once it starts, then it just increases, things get harder, things get nastier. Until the character just can't take it anymore. And then, you start wrapping things up. So, maybe give some little honest to goodness travel hints along the way, some little picturesque moments of places where you really might want to visit.
Right.
I did write another tiki horror story. Wait, where'd that go? Hold on. Where'd that go? Wait, that got published somewhere recently. Oh, it hasn't been published yet. It's coming out. It's coming out next year.
Okay, what's the name of it and what anthology is it in?
It's called Just a Girl.
Just a Girl?
Yep, and it's coming out. It's coming out, I think, in March.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. That sounds fantastic. All right. Do you have any other advice that you would want to give authors out of your own head that, like, not something specific that I would ask? Like, hey, I think you should do this as a new writer, or always do this, or always be in this mindset. Is there any type of information you want to give in that sense?
I would tell all writers, because this is the biggest thing I hear from all writers all the time is, I don't have time to write, or I haven't had time to finish my book. Or, a lot of writers will keep coming to my classes with the same story. Oh, and I teach these classes twice a year. So I'll see the same writers 3 years later with the same story. You've got to finish it. Well, how do I finish it? You've got to make time. If you treat writing like a hobby, it'll be nothing more than a hobby. If you honestly want to get published, or if you want to become a professional writer, you've got to force yourself to sit down. A lot of these writers that we think very highly of now, a lot of the big names, these people all had full-time jobs. They were authors or lawyers. They were doctors. They were, Hollywood elitists. They had a full-time job and a family. They would work their job, come home to dinner, put the kids to bed, and they'll go down, to their den and start writing at 10 o'clock at night and be writing until 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. So, if you're serious about writing, you will find the time. If you can never find the time, it's because maybe you don't really want to.
Maybe you don't care enough.
You've got to be disciplined. If you really want to write something and you want to finish it, you've got to force yourself to sit down and write.
Wow. That's some fabulous, really, really fabulous advice. I really appreciate it. Catherine, I've really enjoyed our talk today. I appreciate you coming on the show. Now, I would love to have you on again if
Thank you.
you'd want to come on, maybe after you have a couple more publications out.
Yeah, you know
Your
what?
work.
In March. Yeah, March or April. I should have a couple more things coming out. I would love to.
There you go. Absolutely. Do you want to show anything else, like before we wrap it up here?
Let's
Just
see.
so people can know what the covers look like.
So we've got that Darkened Doorstep just came out.
That's the newest one, right?
The City of the Damned.
Okay.
We've got Hammer and Blood. Now, I did not write this, but I love these guys. I love their stuff.
That cover is unreal.
It is great. This is a good one too. This one just came out not too long ago. It's called Hellbent.
I like it how it has all the authors on the front. That's very cool.
Yeah, that's kind of nice, huh?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. And then one more. This one's got some really good stories in it too. This one's called Feral.
Okay.
Yep, and I'm writing another story for him. And I said one more, but this is one of my loves. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. You remember those?
Oh, wow.
This is part 4.
That's
awesome. By Jonathan Mayberry. This is a great book. It is for young adults. It's for kids.
Okay.
And it's got some great stories with some really good writers in here. We've got where is he? Besides me, let's see. We've got James Ford. We've got Joe Kaplan. We've got R.L. Stein is in here.
Wow.
Yeah, there's some nice names in here.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you very much, Catherine. I will have this spun down as soon as I can, and I will upload it and send you the link.
Okay, great. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thanks for being on the show.
Yep. Bye-bye.